Hi everyone, this is our online lecture for macroeconomic indicators. This is our first topic. Now, the indicators you have already studied in business economics last semester. You're expected to know them. So, we'll be doing a revision as well as introducing to you a new model to look at how macroeconomics work. Now, just as a revision, we studied last semester the difference between micro and macroeconomics. Now, of course, economics is one whole subject, okay? Last semester, you studied a lot of microeconomics where we look at the individual, like consumer, demand, and the firm in terms of supply. And then we studied market structure, okay, as a group of sellers. So, how do they behave? Now, in macroeconomic, you looked at the overall state of economy. You look at GDP, inflation rate, unemployment rate, right? So we studied some of those indicators. Now, go and look at the notes there, all right, and refresh yourself with those indicators. Okay, you will need to know how to calculate them for the mid-sem test. Now, last time we studied mainly micro topics for business economics, right? Consumer demand, firm supply, market structure, so on and so forth. We also studied a little bit about GDP, inflation rate, unemployment rate, how to calculate these indicators. Okay. Now, for economics and globalized world 108, we are studying only macro topics. Okay. So we are talking about the economy as a whole, and some topics are new to you, including fiscal policy, money, interest rate, trade, and exchange rate. All right. So we're going to move on from where we have left off and continue and go in depth. All right. When we talk about macroeconomics theories and concepts. Okay, so when I talk about macro, I'm talking about this subject. Okay, because 108 is about learning macroeconomics. All right, let's take a look at a circular flow of income, which was introduced to you in the lecture. Now, this flow shows you how wealth is created in the economy. Okay, now this circular flow is divided distinctively into an upper area, which is where the flow is created, and the lower sectors will change the amount of flow that's going on here. Okay, now we talk about an open economy that's represented by the circular flow because there's this sector here, rest of the world. Okay, that means there's a relationship with the rest of the world in the form of imports and exports. All right, now if it's a closed economy, then there'll be no rest of the world. All right, but in this day and time, mostly all countries are open. All right, even countries like North Korea has some trade with China. Okay, now let's take a look at this flow in detail. Let's take a look at the upper portion first and take a look at how wealth is created by these two parties, the households and the firm. Now, in the most primitive beginning of an economy, there were two parties. One is the households, and the other one is the firms. Okay. Now, the households will be where all the factors of production are kept. The households comprises of human beings, so there's labor, maybe human capital is there. All right. They could be sitting on land. All right, meaning the land can be rented out. Okay. But the households do not know what to do with the factors of production. Okay, they have no idea what to do with it. All right. On the other hand, there's this group, all right, called the firms. Now, the firms have a lot of ideas what to do with the factors of production, but they don't have the factors of production. Okay, so there begins a kind of exchange between the household and the firms. Now, the household would sell factors of production to the firms or rent factors of production to the firms. For example, households can rent out the land that they're sitting on to the firm, or they can choose to work for the firm as labor, all right? Or they could provide capital or entrepreneurship to the firm, okay, and receive wages from that or returns from that, all right? So the firm will pay factor payments, rent, wages, all right, whatever interest, all right, back to the households. All right, so the household gain from these factor payments, and at the same time, the firm now have factors of production to produce things. Now, households, when they earn the factor payments, now they have money to spend on things. Now, what do they spend on? They will spend on goods and services that's produced by the firm. And the firm will produce these goods and services. They will earn sales from the household when they buy things from the firms. So there begins a kind of flow of income between these two parties, right? First, they exchange factors of production, okay, and make factor payments to the household. Then firms start producing things, and household buy from them with the income that they earned earlier. All right. So some kind of income flow begins, all right, between these two parties through this exchange, all right, of factors of production and factor payments. All right. Now we can understand this inner flow as a form of GDP. Okay. That we will calculate later. Now looking at the whole circular flow again, let's recap. So this flow here is a circular flow of income, okay? And this is due to the exchange of factors of production and factor payments, all right? Thereby creating a kind of wealth that's circulating between the household and the firm, okay? So we understand from this as some kind of GDP, all right? Some kind of national income, okay? Now, this income here is not static. It can be changed by these three sectors over here. Okay, now these three sectors are financial institutions, government, and the rest of the world. Now, the down arrows are called withdrawals. Okay, down arrows are called withdrawals. Now, they're called withdrawals because income is being drained out from this circular flow. Okay, such as, for example, savings. Why is savings a withdrawals? That's because when household don't spend, they don't buy things from the firm. They choose to save away the money. All right, firms don't get the business, so income will be reduced. All right. Now, when government tax people or they tax the firm, all right, the government can tax on both parties. So when the government tax on both, when they tax on the household have less money to buy from the firm. When they tax on the firm, firms have less money to maintain production. So all taxes is a kind of all taxes are a kind of withdrawal. Okay, it withdraws income from the flow because now when government taxes both households and firms, they have less to maintain production and less to buy. All right. Now, for the rest of the world, the withdrawal exists in the form of imports. That means the household may not want to buy goods and services from this firm in the country. They may choose to buy from outside of this country. So income get drained away to outside. Okay? Or firms may not want to buy factors of production from the household. They may choose to buy from other people from the rest of the world. Okay, so it's a kind of import. So households have less factor payments. So it's a draining away of income. Okay, so remember there are three withdrawals. Okay, imports, when you buy things from not from your own country, all right, but from overseas, it flows to the rest of the world. Okay, it flows out of the country to the rest of the world. When government taxes, all right, on the household and on firms, and when people save and don't spend, all right. Now, of course, at the same time, there are injections. The up arrows are called the injections. Okay, we call this injection. It's injecting income into this flow. All right. Now, financial institution can make investment into this economy, into this flow. All right. Maybe some investor want to invest in certain firms and inject cash or money into the firm. The firm has more to produce. Okay. And the government can also act like a customer and they order products and services from the firm. Okay, so the firm has more business, not just from the household, but more business from the government. All right, so this adds on to the circular flow of income that's running here. All right, for the rest of the world, firms may have businesses from overseas. Okay, overseas people may buy things from the firms in this country. All right. So other than the households, the firms have more business. Okay. So this is a kind of injection. All right. So this is a pictorial kind of layout of the economy. All right. Showing you how income is created and how it changes with these three sectors here. Now, you have to remember what are injections, what are withdrawals. Okay? Now, anytime when withdrawals are greater, the flow will diminish. Okay? You can understand that as a recession. All right? When injections are more, all right, than withdrawals, you can understand that as some kind of economic growth. Okay? Meaning more, the higher circular flow of income. Now, I want to recap business cycle with all of you because you'll be needing this kind of descriptors to describe data change because you need them for your project. Okay. When we talk about GDP, for instance, okay, going up, expansion, coming down, recession. All right. Now, what is a peak and a trough? A lot of people have a lot of difficulty understanding that. A peak is when the data has gone up to a kind of a maximum and then the next moment it turns downward. Okay, so that is a peak. Trough is the opposite. The data goes down and then it hits the bottom and then V shape it goes up. Okay, so you must know what's the difference between a peak and a trough. Now, many of you have pointed out correctly to me that when you are at the peak, you don't know that it's the peak until you know that it has gone down the next year. All right, or you don't know that it's a trough until there's a recovery next year. So peak and trough are not descriptors that we know when we are living through it. Okay, we will only know when it has happened. So for peak, things go worse after that. Okay, then we know that last year was a peak. Or when things improve, then we know that last year was a trough. Okay, so this kind of descriptors are important when you're describing data because you're going to do some data collection for your project. Okay, now of course not all data will fluctuate like that. All right, we're only showing you as an example, okay, to describe certain changes. Data usually look more like this. Singapore GDP growth, you can see that the changes are more gentle, all right, not so roller coaster kind of changes, okay, more gentle, and there's a clear direction is going upwards, okay, but you can tell that there is a certain parts of the data that is not like the norm. Okay, now we will spend more time discussing this and researching on this during the tutorial. Okay, but I meant to show you this to show you how a regular data likely looks like. Okay, not those roller coaster kind of changes. Yeah. Now, from this point onwards is revision. We are just going through the indicators again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Okay, just as a recap. But you guys better know this. Okay. Usually for midterm test, we test you on the calculations. All right, because these are important indicators that you'll be working with. All right. So GDP, two methods of calculation: expenditure and income. Now you learn a third method, which is the output method in theory. All right, we're not touching that for 108. All right, you just need to know the expenditure and income method and the components inside it. All right, you need to know how to convert between nominal and real, and to know that we use real GDP to calculate economic growth rate. This year minus last year over last year times 100%. Okay, these are all in your 107 notes and also in your current notes, of course. Inflation measures how much price is increasing. So we use CPI, okay, this year minus last year over last year times 100%. Okay, inflation will be one of the things that we'll be looking at in greater detail for this subject. Next, we look at labor market indicators. Now, you remember this layout they have drawn when we did business econs, yeah? Now, how do we classify the different indicators for the labor market? Now, when you're of working age, in Singapore, it's 15 years old, okay? You are calculated under working age population, all right? Now, that means you are legally able to work. Now, if you are legally able to work and you want to work, you'll be inside this inner area here, colored area, which is called the labor market, okay? So you legally can work and you want to work. You may not be able to find a job. If you can find a job, good for you, you are employed. Okay? If you cannot find a job, you are unemployed. Alright? So unemployed are people who legally can work, wants to work, but cannot find a job. Okay? Not just everybody. Yeah? So labor force is just those people who are willing to work. So we calculate by adding up the unemployed people and the employed people. Okay, and unemployment rate is a percentage of that. Okay, a percentage of the labor market. Not everybody, only labor market. Okay, labor force participation rate is based on um, your working age population. That means based on those who legally can work, how much of those people wants to work. Okay, so it calculates the participation rate, the willingness to work based on how much people who legally can work. All right, we mentioned in 107 that labor force participation rate can be affected by the population age. Okay, some people usually when they're older they don't feel like working. So when the participation rate is low, all right, very few people want to go into the labor market. It could be a sign that the population is getting older. Okay, so aging population can reduce the participation rate. Okay. Now, unemployment, we also talk about how people can be unemployed. Again, this is inside your notes. We just go through it briefly. Cyclical refers to people who lose their jobs during a regular economic downturn. These are the people who can work but lose their job because the economic climate is no good. Okay, they get retrenched. Can work but no job. Okay. Structural people are those people who are outdated. Their skills are no longer needed by the industry. Mismatch. Okay. Frictional are very short-term unemployment where people are changing jobs, just graduated, waiting for jobs to start. All right. Now, I want you guys to recall also how to reduce all these different types of unemployment. Okay. Cyclical, we have policies to help the economy. We will go through that in the future topics. Structural unemployment, we ask them to go back to school to upgrade their skills. Okay. Fictional, maybe you have job fairs to help them find jobs faster. Okay, that's all I have for you for this week. See you guys next week when we do ADAS. Yeah.